you work and live in the air, and right now you're talking to me from Doha.
Yes, I'm in
Yes.
Doha now.
When did you decide or think that property ownership was something you wanted for a girl who lives in the air, surely?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's very, for a girl who lives in the air and is in a new country every other week or every other 2 days, it's very easy to get carried away into the lifestyle of like, I'm gonna go to the nicest restaurant in New York, I'm gonna go to the nicest place in Paris, I'm gonna go to shop in London or whatever. So what I did was at the beginning, I was big on buying my family gifts whenever I would go home. I would like splash and like do big things when I go home. And I remember like my mom telling me, we love the gifts. We appreciate all the things you bring for us, but you need to do something for yourself. She would like keep saying this over and over again. And I remember I kept saying, yeah, maybe I should buy an apartment. It was just a thought because a lot of crew do that. Like a lot of my colleagues, they buy houses or they buy like apartments so that in the long run, if they want to go back home, they have a place or they can rent it out.
Yes.
So that thought was like instilled in me, like when I was very new to the airline, I knew that was what most people were doing actually. And I kind of shared the thought with my mom, oh yeah, I'm gonna get an apartment, like I just say, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And she kept like every time I would go for the holidays, she'd be like, so did you make any progress? And she was like, on it every time. And to be honest, I didn't know where to start. That's it. Like, I just remember going on Pirate Kenya and just like browsing through it and just like finding the same property listed. And I was just lost. I didn't know where to start.
Okay.
And yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I
so
could, I
that's
could,
that is almost everybody's story. You know you want, but then when
yeah.
we're supposed to make a decision, you're like, but what size, what location, how much?
Yeah.
So did you find Anza or did Anza find you?
I think, okay, how did my story with Anza start? I think Anza found me in all the confusion, in all the mess. Yeah, I met, so I don't have very long term leaves. So most of the times when I come to Nairobi, I'll try to squeeze in a day and I'm trying to see my parents. I'm trying to catch up with everyone. So I'll try to like allocate some time maybe to meet with an agent who's been referred by somebody. And it's never enough time to really like look around and see something that I like. And I remember when I was ready to start with the viewing of the apartments, COVID started. So I was like, okay, now it's another bummer. Like, I can't do this online. And, yeah. And then it was like, it felt very, my job was very like, I wasn't sure if I was going to have a job by the end of COVID. So it kind of made me realize, yes, it's nice to live this life, but I need some kind of security for myself. And I promised myself, as soon as COVID was done and we could resume our normal lives, I purposed, I will work on this and I'm going to make sure I get an apartment the next year or so, something, yeah.
Okay. So Anza finds you in the middle of the confusion. Was that 2020 or 2021?
Okay. 2022, when we could travel, I started, I think that's when I first met Maximo Banza. Was it 2022? But that time I was not dealing with him. I was dealing with other agents who were like, who would just take me to see apartments, which were like big and grand. And they would just show me the apartments. They would not say anything. And they would tell me, oh, this costs this much. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm thinking myself, I can't come up with that kind of cash even from all my entire life savings. I don't have enough amount. And I became more adamant. So I remember the beginning of 2023 when I had my leave, I said, I'm not going to Shags this time. I'm going to Nairobi, and I'm not gonna leave Nairobi until I find something that I really like. And I remember going with another agent for the very first day and seeing like everything, like a lot of apartments in Lavington everywhere. And then the next day, Anza through Maxine is like, I can actually show you, take you around and show you and.
Wow.
And like because Anza is like was referred is we have a mutual friend who like
Referred
Maxime
you.
and they referred me. Actually Maxime does the same thing, and I'm like really, and he took me to the apartment. And first of all we had viewing. apartments like that were being developed at the time. They were not fully done, most of them. And then after viewing different apartments, we had like a sit down, and he told me, listen, if you get this, you can be able to rent it for this much if you do it furnished or unfurnished. So he gave me all the possibilities for it. He gave me the financing options, and I felt like, oh wow, no one had told me this for like the last 2 years when I've been like seriously like trying to find something.
Yes.
And yeah, and I remember him sitting, and this was like for me like the breaking point in a positive way for me with Anza was the fact that he sits me down, he calculates for me, he tells me like, listen, this is this much, it should be this much square foot. So if you get this one, you're paying this much for each square foot as compared to this other building, and you will get this much in rent if you do it furnished or unfurnished. And he's like, and he asked me, how much savings do you have? I told him, I only have this much. And he's like, if you can pay this, you'll be able to, like taking you through the steps. And I was like, yeah, I'm done looking with anyone else. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So when did you from the time you and Max sat down and he gave you the options, what was that period of time to acquiring, to making a decision?
Okay, you will not believe this, but when I know, I know. So I had 2 weeks. So when the first 2 days, I think was when I met other people, and then I met Maxime on the third day, and I was like, Maxime, like, wait, what was it? I was like, Maxime, I'm decided
on this.
On this one. I think it's really nice. I like that they have balconies, and I like the location is prime, and this is it. And we didn't waste time, so I got the letter of offer. I was like, I'm ready. Can I like work on it as soon as I'm gonna make the deposit? And yeah, and actually, so when I came back to Qatar, it felt so comfortable, and within a month I had already like made the transfers and what else? Yeah.
Yeah.
The process is yeah.
So did Anza make sure that you understood about, I don't know, your stamp duty, when your certificate of occupation will be in, your legal fees, all those things, your financing? Did they help you choose a financing partner? Or sasa, once you sign the paperwork, uko peke yako?
No, asikukuwa peke yangu.
Mhm.
You know the thing with so like the moment I signed the letter of offer, and I think you have like a couple of weeks, 2 weeks to execute.
Yeah,
or
to
like
execute it, yes.
So I told Maxime, as soon as I'm back, I'll just do the transfers. And once I did the transfers, Maxime was in constant touch. And for me, I'm not somebody who is easily like reachable. I'm like, you can easily get frustrated because you will try to contact me and I'm in the air and I can't do anything about it, the time difference and all that. But he's very reliable. So, and he knew like we had this like, like communication. He will update me, and I always told him, Maxime, like he would update me, and I would read these messages whenever, whatever time it is, and I would tell him I will always respond when I get a chance to. So he would update me on the next thing to do or the next option there is. And I remember I decided initially he was like, it's more beneficial. He advised me to get like first 2 small ones to like diversify my portfolio as well. And I think I was going for a big apartment.
Okay.
Or if you buy 2 small ones, first. And yeah, and I remember I got the first two. And what else do I remember from?
But I want to. Okay. And then what did you tell your mom? Because she kept asking you, "Utanunua lini?" So what did you tell mom?
So my mom, I have to tell her when it's done because she got to a point where she would tell me like, listen, like me, like this is exactly what she would tell me. Well, the day you will tell me you bought yourself an apartment, the way you've always said it, even if I die, I'll go to the grave at peace. Like she would say that, and I just felt like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of like a big deal to even tell to her, and I remember just like calling later. I'm like, I got,
You got it done.
myself some apartment, and I remember telling her I paid for one cash, and she couldn't believe it. She's like, in your name?
Yes.
You're in your name? Are you telling me they are in your name and you're not like a next of kin or something? I'm like, in my name. And oh my God, it was just a surreal moment for me. Yeah.
Oh, so it was also a surreal moment for you that you had this property in your name. Wow.
Yes, it is. It's a big, and I couldn't believe it. And yeah, it was a big moment to be honest, because it's something that you always saw. Like I want this. I don't know where to start. My dad was so worried, you know, dads, he would be like, me, I don't trust these people in Nairobi.
But he's right. He's right.
He's right.
He's right. I mean, it's very hard to find a person you can trust. And you know, for us women, our money, we make our money hard. So we want people who respect our money. We do. Yeah. So, I mean, a year later, because that was 2023, a year later, where are you at? Has the development been finished? Have you visited your apartments?
Yes. So I would always like make time, even if I had 2 days, I would just fly in Nairobi just to sometimes see. And it's a kind of a very nice feeling to actually see your little apartment, no matter how. It's very, 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 very good feeling, I must admit. And then I would fly in there because luckily I was able from my savings to pay for one of it, like fully cash, and make down payments for the next one. And I was like, I felt so motivated. I was like, if I work really hard enough and I stay, I can easily pay off the second one cash, and I don't have to take a mortgage on the second one. And Maxime, so I told the idea to Maxime, and I remember coming, and Maxime was like, "Can you fly in?" On sorry, I think you're having. I don't think it's a fire. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Yeah, sorry. It's so yeah, and so I came to Nairobi, and Maxime organized for me a meeting with Stanbic bank. He took me to the bank himself. Well, and he took me to the bank. He sat me with the mortgage specialist. She explained it to me. They did the math. Me, I was just confused. I was just staying there. I'm like, what are they doing?
Wow.
And I just remember being in that. I'm sorry about the fire alarm.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You can hear it more than I can.
Yeah. And I just remember Max in that boardroom with this lady, and then Christine. Her name is Christine. And Maxime, and they're just on their computers calculating if she gets this, if she And I told them, listen, I think I can pay off. Oh yeah, there's something I need to add to my apartment buying. So when I felt that I would easily be able to pay off the second small apartment cash, I was able to make a down payment for that apartment. Actually, I just kind of went full on, and I was like, you know what? I'm not playing this time. I just want to do it once and for all. And I felt like, I'm young and I can easily afford to make these sacrifices now.
Yeah.
I don't have any responsibilities. I just use my money for me. So I can do it. And I can do it once and for all, and just like make the sacrifice for a few years, and I can please people in the long run. Yeah. In a few years.
Wow. I love your story. I love your story. I know you want to go and check on whatever that alarm is, but I have gotten everything I needed to hear and know. The reason I'm smiling so broadly is that I keep saying, I know I started my journey at about 33, which is where you are, but you started when you were 30.
Yeah.
And I think every young woman should. And you said something very important. My money is for me. I don't have any responsibilities yet, no children, nothing. This is the time to make it happen.
Yeah. And to be honest, for me too, it was a kind of a bit of a bold move because I was someone going into like getting a 1 3 bedroom apartment, and I was like just one, and then I ended up kind of like dividing it into like 2 small apartments, and I decided, I'm gonna get a little bit of a bigger apartment where even if I ever come to Nairobi, I can stay in it. If I want to, like later, I can stay in there and I can rent the other two, and that way I can still be like able to sustain it, or even like these two I can pay cash, and the rent income can take care of the third apartment, and that way I can still keep working and still more. And yeah, and I felt a bit crazy, but I did it. And I remember my dad was thinking, I love my dad, but sometimes he's very safe. He's very safe in taking his risk. apartment, and he's like, I don't trust these people in Nairobi. Are you sure? And all that. And then he's like, you know what? I can give you a piece of land. You can build apartments in there, in Shag. And then I'm like, Dad, he has like rentals, and I'm like, how much do you get for rent from one single apartment in Ushago? And telling me like, for a 2 bedroom, he's like getting like around, I don't know, 10,000. I'm like, me, I can't do that.
No, I want more.
But, and I'm like, I'm too young. Let me take these crazy risks. Even if they don't work out, I'll have time to recover. Like
No, you've done so well. I'm so happy for you. And what I love is that, we're having this conversation. You're sitting in Qatar, in Doha, and there's very many people like you who should be able to do that. But I love your foresight. But also, it's amazing for me to hear that Anza even took you to the meeting. Even if you did not know what Stanbic was saying, it's okay. It's okay. We'll sit here with you. And they chased you through the timelines, eh? I don't know. She's in Paris. She's in America. She's in wherever she is. We'll find her. So you don't have to be here. They're doing all the follow up for you.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if I've given Anza enough credit here, but oh my God, I don't think I would have been able to do this much without Anza, to be very honest. And the fact that Maxine took me to the bank and he's like, listen, even if you're not able to pay the second apartment in cash, like you can still get a mortgage on it and still be able to get a mortgage on the third apartment.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, yeah. And also the fact that Maxine was able to tell me about, there's like this reduced mortgage financing. Who tells you this? No one.
No one.
You even know that you can get reduced. I'm like, really? Like, yeah. And then he told me the motivation was, if you're able to clear the second apartment cash, then you will even get a higher, like for the third one, like almost like a higher amount, half of it, like with the reduced financing rate. And I'm like, what? I never knew these things, and nobody tells you these things.
Nobody tells you.
And then he took me to my lawyer. He got me like Anza got me my lawyer, someone reliable, someone I can trust. I flew in and we just went straight to the lawyer's office. Like where you have to sign the sales agreement. And he took me through page to page of the clauses and everything. Should I wish to resell this? Should this happen? And tell me who will do that with you. Who will do?
Trust me, it didn't happen in my time. That's why I'm excited. I keep saying part of the reason I'm very comfortable in my life is that I took the risk then when I had to talk to almost 7 people. And now I'm here, unapologetically saying as a young woman, do this. It feels good. And Anza will hold your hand even if you're scared, and even if your dad is scared or your mom is scared. They can also come and see Anza. They can say, Nanda, you're meeting now where?
Oh yeah, I took my dad to see my apartments actually. Like I took him with me. When was it? Sometime towards the end of last year. I took him and I showed it to him. And, oh my God! And I could see him smiling. Kenyan dads like serious. They're like, oh, done well for yourself.
I'm really happy for you. And I want to thank you for taking the bold step, for making the small time to talk to me, and just being an encouragement to every other young woman. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy you're flying with the airline I love to represent here, Qatar.
Oh, I want to have you on one of my flights.
Sooner than later, Jemimah, sooner than later. It will happen. Okay. All right. You look after yourself.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. Thank you so much. I told one of my friends here, like, oh, I'm doing an interview with Caroline, and she was like, please tell her I said hello.
Okay. Okay.
And I know you run on tight time, but I have to tell you, Caroline, there was a video you did, I don't know how many years ago when I was young. It was a video you did like average, settling for average. You go to get average grades, you're going to get an average life, average. And I've always resonated with that video. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Jemimah. Thank you. You clearly are not average. You clearly are not average. Okay. All right.
Do you have any other questions?
No, you've said everything I needed. Thank you so much.
Sorry, a quick last one on Anza as well. I forgot to mention. So the 2 little apartments I was talking about, they were finished in December, and in February, Maxime was able to get me a tenant. Yeah, so I already have a tenant, and he did all this. Like, he just called me one day. I was in New Zealand, and he's just like, hi. He calls me Tuto. Tuto is my traditional name. He's like, Tuto, I managed to get you a tenant. I'm like, what? Like, really? And he's like, what? And she's taking the apartment for an year, and I'm like, are you for real? And I was like, yeah. So like, this is what to do with that.
I have goosebumps.
I have I hope I have portrayed Anza in the light, in the best light possible, in a way that they've really done for well for me, and I hope they can do well for others as well.
Thank you. You've given me goosebumps.